Discuss 3 advantages of setting price ceiling. Roman 2, that is question 1, Roman 2, A, Roman 2. Discuss, we call it discuss. Discuss advantages of setting the price ceiling. Advantages of setting the price ceiling. Advantages of setting the price ceiling. When you say advantages, we are basically talking about merits of setting a price ceiling. I want us to understand that whenever the government set a price ceiling, it is always geared towards protecting the consumer. So one of the advantages of setting a price ceiling is to protect. One, we say to protect. We say to protect the consumer. We say that to protect the consumer against exploitation. To protect the consumer against exploitation by the producers. That is the first advantage. The second advantage, we say that this is geared towards giving advantages to the consumer. The second one is to say that to improve the living standards of the consumer. To improve the living standard of the consumer. To improve the living standard of the consumer. To improve the living standard. And the next reason why we set advantage of setting a price ceiling, we basically say to encourage consumption of a certain commodity. To encourage, we say to encourage consumption of a certain commodity. To encourage consumption of a certain commodity. And we can add one. The examiner looked for 3, but we can add for 1. And that is to say to ensure. That is to ensure distribution. To ensure distribution. We call it to ensure the distribution of goods and services. We say to ensure distribution of goods and services. That is the 4th reason. And so the examiner was looking at this, discuss meaning that you can explain. And for each point, there's a 2 mark on this together. For example, when you say to protect the consumer against exploitation by the consumer, by the producer. Whenever prices are set below, we know that the reason why we normally have excess demand on that is because prices are set below. We know that when prices are low, demand is high. So basically, consumer are protected. The second one is to improve the living standard. By prices being low, we know for sure it brings the aspect of affordability. And so therefore, it brings about what we call improving the standard of living of the consumer. And when you talk about what we call to encourage consumption of certain goods, the reason why certain commodities, in most cases, we basically say are not consumed is because the prices are very high. So when you set the prices of those commodities below, we are definitely going to encourage that consumption of those very good. Something just to note to those that are preparing or those that are going through economics, you also need to look at this in addition. When we talk about those advantages, we also need to look at the effect, some of the effect as just an additional, going further above the question that we've done. What are some of the effects, of setting a price ceiling. I can pick one and talk about it, and the rest you can look into them in detail. One of the effects of setting a price ceiling, we basically say, is it leads to excess demand. Definitely demand is going to be very high when you set the prices below the equilibrium price or the maximum price. And that is how we get to that paper.